Hey guys, this is Justin. Hello and welcome to another Star Wars news video. And before we get into things, I do have to acknowledge that I've sort of been a little light on lore videos recently, and that's kind of just because there's not been much that I've wanted to cover and I don't want to fake it, and it's also sort of a downtime when it comes to interest in Star Wars lore, at least besides for Bad Batch stuff. So if there is something in particular you'd like to see me cover, make sure you leave it down in the comments. And on that note, early next week I will also be doing my first ever patron Q&A. I'll be uploading it as a video on YouTube. If you want your question guaranteed to be answered, you can go join the Patreon, but also I will be picking some #AskX. So feel free to ask about Star Wars, running the YouTube channel, really anything you want. With that being said, let's get into the news. And today there was a pretty big article on Wired about Taika Waititi. Taika's fairly well loved in fandom spaces. His Marvel film, Thor Ragnarok, was really popular. I wasn't a huge fan, but I'm not a Marvel guy. And he's also made several other well-liked films, including What We Do in the Shadows and Hunt for the Wilder People. When it comes to Star Wars, which of course is the point of today's video, Taika will be making a feature film, which we'll talk about in a bit, but also directed the Season 1 finale of The Mandalorian. So that's pretty cool. Anyway, the Wired article goes on to say that Taika has recently finished shooting for Thor Love and Thunder, which was delayed for 5 months by COVID. And now, having learned from his work on what the article calls CGI-heavy films, Taika is now focusing on his next Star Wars film, and he talks about how it's very early on. The way he describes it is that it's still in the exterior space stage, referring to the fact that that's always how the Star Wars films start off. There's the crawl, then a space shot, but he also says we've got a story. I'm really excited by it because it feels very me. The article, I think, rightly calls Taika's work irreverent sometimes, and I think the logo almost mirrors that. Like, this clearly doesn't look like it's going to be the most serious of Star Wars stories, at least on its face, and you can arguably say the same thing about Taika's other works, including Thor Ragnarok. He responds to that by saying, I tend to go down that little sincerity alleyway in my films. I like to fool the viewer into thinking, huh, it's this, and then going, damn it, you made me feel something. And that's what I would really like to see out of Star Wars. I do think, for how silly Star Wars is, it can sometimes take itself too seriously. That doesn't mean we need to have a film injected with Marvel humor, but I think there's a middle ground between the sort of edgier, more serious stuff and what Taika could put out. And the article sort of alludes to this, but I really want to focus on the fact that Taika, having taken time to do those other ideas and those other movies, was probably a really good thing. For one, we know that Taika worked a lot with the Volume, which is the kind of groundbreaking technology that ILM used for The Mandalorian. I think this article is suggesting that it was used in Thor Ragnarok and that it will continue to be used in the future, so having a grip with that cutting edge technology will only make the eventual Star Wars movie more successful if he chooses to use it, because the more he gets hands-on experience with the Volume, the more he can really push it to its potential, as I think The Mandalorian Season 2 began to do. Like, we got a lot bigger scenes. I think the moments with the Krayt Dragon for me will really stand out, and this is clearly like a new way to make films. It's an evolution of the blue screen or the green screen, so I think it's good that anyone who's going to be working on a Star Wars project take some time to get familiar with this. But I'm also happy that Taika does have a story. Like, he doesn't have a script yet, he doesn't have the story nailed down, and certainly not the specifics in the scenes, but the fact that he's got at least some idea of where he wants to go is good for me, at least. I would vastly prefer that rather than Lucasfilm reaching out to a director because they like his general style. It's also really great that Star Wars seems to be his focus now, or at least it will be once he finishes the new Thor movie. He does have other projects on his plate, and with other directors, we've seen their Star Wars work get pushed to the back, like something that they'll eventually tackle, and especially if you're talking about Rian Johnson's trilogy, you have to wonder whether that's happening at all. So it's good that this is something that's happening soon-ish. Of course, soon in this perspective is still probably 3 or 4 years, but you know, we'll see. Last year on the Star Wars show, they actually gave dates for when to expect the next 3 theatrical movies, and we got got December 22nd, 2023, and then December 19th, 2025, and December 17th, 2027. During December of last year, it was confirmed that the Rogue Squadron movie from Patty Jenkins would be taking the 2023 spot, so I'm going to assume that Taika's movie is next. And that article also, which gave the date for the Rogue Squadron movie, kind of echoed some of the general sentiments that we've been talking about earlier, with a quote from Kathleen Kennedy saying Taika's approach to Star Wars will be fresh, unexpected, and unique. And by 2025, we'll have had so many Star Wars TV shows and series. We'll probably have seen Thrawn in live action, maybe even Thrawn defeated. Like, at that point, I think it'll be a great time for something fresh in the Star Wars universe. So everything we heard today about Taika's schedule and his sort of plan sounded good to me. The only other thing I want to very briefly mention during this video, because I did allude to the fact that there are multiple topics, is a bit of a spoiler for the upcoming Ahsoka show. So if you want to go into that show without any spoilers, maybe click away now, and I'll give you a few seconds to do so. So anyway, the Ahsoka show has been confirmed. I was actually thinking today and I couldn't remember whether it had been confirmed or not, but some of the various entertainment trades and insiders have been talking about the fact that the casting for Sabine Wren is ongoing, and Jordan Mason, who I've talked about on the channel a few times, has actually stated that they're down to just a few actresses. So I would certainly expect Sabine to be in the movie, and yeah, that's all for now though, guys. Let me know what you think of all of this down in the comments. Again, include any questions you have for my Q&A video early next week with the hashtag AskEck. But until next time, guys, be safe, have a good one, and may the Force be with you.